I kind of did a double take. I was like, wait, what am I looking at? And there was like 4 Korean soldiers, and both sets of the 2 were holding hands like they were dating, but it was just affection. Welcome, beautiful people, to the Lost and Local podcast. We're Adam
and Hannah,
2 Korean citizens who grew up abroad and are now figuring out life in Korea.
Join us as we share stories and our honest perspective on what it means to be lost and local.
Of course, we are local right now as we speak, but when you hear this episode, Hannah's in India again. So sadly, I'm already getting sad thinking that she's not local, but such is life.
I'm sad too.
So if you saw the topic of our title, we're going to talk a little bit about social norms. And we'll get into some specifics. But what's our icebreaker, Hannah?
Okay. I'm really excited for this question because there are some things that I've noticed. But what's something you thought was a social norm, but turned out to be something your family was particular about?
So we had the thing called the telephone, not a cell phone, but a telephone, you know, the wired telephone thing. Landline. And it's customary, even back in my day, to when the phone rings, you pick it up and you're like, hello. But of course, my family decided that's kind of rude. So we want all of our children, not just the father and the mother, because at the time my adopted father was still living with us. But they decided that there needs to be a prim and proper way to answer the phone.
Oh, goodness.
So my adopted family's name was Schneider. So I would have to answer the phone with Schneider's... I would have to answer the phone, Schneider's residence. This is Adam speaking. How can I help you? Or something like that.
Yeah.
I just remember Schneider's residence. This is Adam speaking. And I was mortified. It was so embarrassing to have to but that was the social norm for my family.
Yeah.
And I couldn't call my mom because that's rude.
Oh.
I had to call her mother.
Interesting.
So to this day, I still call her mother.
Oh.
But all my friends called their moms moms. But of course, my mom had to be different and be like, no, mom is rude. You must call me mother.
So it's not an Indiana thing. It's like a Schneider family thing.
Yeah. So what was social norm for my family was not social norm for me. And of course, that was just another way of me feeling different. But yeah, that's my little... Not really semi-traumatizing, but it was a thing that I definitely didn't like. So I tried to avoid answering the phone.
I see. My gosh, Adam, I'm learning that my parents are very much like your parents. Like, I don't think I was raised like people in my age group. I think I was raised a little more like old school because I had to do the same thing.
That explains it, Hannah. You're kind of an old soul in a young body.
I'm a rule follower. Yeah.
So your family was similar.
Thing. Yeah. I would have to be, because my dad was a professor, I'd be like, this is Professor Jang's house. Who do you want to talk to? And I would rush it. And if my dad heard me, he'd be like, no, do it again.
Did you say it in Korean?
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to do it in Korean. I'd be so embarrassed. And then on the line, it'd be like, Hannah? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's me. And I'd be so embarrassed.
Wait, it's a general thing is 여보세요 when you answer the phone in Korean?
Yeah, 여보세요.
Oh, it's like hello, which basically the Korean to English normal
but
way
I'd be like,
things.
여보세요, 장 교수님네 댁인데요. And then I'd
this
be like,
whole long thing.
Yeah, 누구랑 통화하시려고 전화하셨어요? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? And none of my friends had to do it.
Yeah, they're like, what is this? What century are you answering the telegraph thing or something?
I know. And I'm an only child, so I couldn't even avoid picking up the phone. My mom would be like, go pick up the phone, Hannah. And I'd be like,
wow.
Go pick up the phone. Yeah.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah. But I have something different actually for this question.
Okay.
And I actually didn't find this out until last year. My parents were very particular about me celebrating their wedding anniversary.
What?
So my whole life, I bought them flowers. I wrote them a note for their anniversary. And I just thought that every good Korean daughter does this.
So you thought it was normal?
I thought it was like a Korean thing.
Okay.
Like a Korean, like respecting adults, respecting your parents kind of thing. And then last year I was like, oh, I can't hang out that day because it's my parents' anniversary. And my friends were like, so? And I'm like, I'm expected to be home and like celebrate with them. Is that not normal? Is that not a Korean thing? And they were like, no, Hannah, like nobody in Korea does that. And
well, I've never heard of this before.
I was like, what?
Oh, so it's just a little subculture that your parents created.
I don't even think it's a subculture. I think it's just a dictatorship. My parents.
Here's a question. You should go find out if their parents expected the same thing from them.
No.
So
they didn't. No.
Oh.
So, because like my parents have so many siblings. There was no curfew. Like they never talked to them about like what college do you want to go to or like what do you want to be when you grow up.
That's not normal either for them, isn't it?
No, I think it's pretty standard for their age group. Because not that many people went to college anyway.
Oh, back in that day.
Yeah, it's just
your parents were born in the 60s?
It was about like half. A lot of people just started working after high school.
Okay.
So for my parents, it was just like, as long as you're not asking us for money, you can do whatever you want. And I think because that's their relationship with their parents, they wanted something different with their own daughter.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But they never told me that celebrating their anniversary was something they wanted to do.
Oh,
I just thought it was a Korean thing.
That's interesting because I would think that they would want like their alone time. It's our anniversary. Hannah, go play with your friends. Go to their house today.
They do, but they still expect me to get them flowers and a gift.
Oh, which is definitely not a normal thing.
No. Well, I thought it was normal until last year. And then I got so mad. And I was like, guys, so like, how could you make me do this for 30 something years?
Oh, did you actually say that to him?
Yeah. I was like, 30 something years. I thought it was a Korean tradition and it is not. Oh. And then they were like, oh, but you should be thankful because if we didn't get married, you wouldn't exist.
Oh,
and
that's hilarious.
Okay.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
wow.
I might rebel this upcoming year.
Well, what's going to be funny one day is that if you do get married and you do in fact have a child, what would you expect from them?
I would not expect them to celebrate my wedding anniversary.
At least that's what you say now.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have to table this until maybe 10
I'll make
years
them
from
do
now
it.
Figure it out. Okay, that's funny. I guess we'll go into the first question you asked, the icebreaker. So what are some things that you notice in public spaces? Now, are we going to talk about this regarding Korean culture, or are we going to mention a comparison and contrast to the States versus Korea?
Probably the States, because that's why I think it was noticeable to me after living in Boston for 14 years.
Okay.
Because the first thing that stood out to me was the fact that nobody holds the door open.
In Korea?
Yeah, in Korea. For anyone. And when I did hold the door open, people started running. They were like, oh my gosh, she has the door open. And they started running. And then I felt really bad. And I was like, no, you can like take your time. But they were like, no. Oh, wow, thank you. And they were like bowing.
Oh, yeah. They bow a lot.
Yeah.
If you hold the door.
And they were making such a big deal out of it.
Yeah, because it's so not normal.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do. Maybe I'm not actually a deterrent. Yeah, I'm not actually putting them at ease. Like I'm causing more anxiety. Whereas in the States, like obviously no one's like holding the door for a long time, but they like look back at you and they kind of nod to indicate that they're holding the door for you, right? And then they just like pass it on, and it's just so normal. So that was something that like really stood out to me. Okay. Yeah.
Holding doors definitely. And these days, if you're in the States, if you're kind of not being too old fashioned, if you're opening a door into a mall or a store and it swings open and someone's behind you, instead of standing aside and letting them go through, you'll still like kind of push the door a little open so that they know like, oh, you're thinking of them. So they don't have to open it all the way. But a more old fashioned thing to do is open it and just let them go through and then go through, which is a little awkward even in the States.
Yeah.
But that's stuff I used to do a lot. But then I realized that even in the States, to hold the door proper, like the old like 1950s style or whatever, it would even make people in the States feel a little uncomfortable.
I see.
So even like pushing it after you go through is showing that you're thinking of that person.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone like explicitly explained that to me, but you just see, that everyone's doing it. And so you kind of do the same thing, right? You like kind of hold it open. And then as soon as someone kind of comes near, you take your arm off. Whereas in Korea, not a thing.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes there are a few times that I will hold the door open, but it's usually because it's an older person. I've found that I've done it for younger people, and like they're so taken aback. They're like, oh, "Kamsahamnida," they'll do this, and I'm like, okay, they're probably not comfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't do it for the young people anymore.
Yeah.
Which is weird for me because I like to open doors and like I'm like, okay, I just won't do that. But if they're elderly people, I'll hold it for them.
And they're like very appreciative, right?
Yeah, because the doors are heavy for them.
They're so heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand why.
Yeah. Well, maybe like if you're going through the subway doors or like because the wind is coming through sometimes. I don't know.
And then another thing about Korea is there's always one door that doesn't move. It says
fixed. Yeah, fixed.
Yeah.
It's a fixed door. And like, why don't you just unlock it?
I know.
It's so funny. Yeah, I sit at a Mega Coffee over by my exit, and I'll sit and I'll face the windows. And of course, there's next to the Mega Coffee, there's a big window into the main mall area. So there's 4 doors, but 2 of the doors are always fixed. And it's hilarious. Like, it's almost like comical. You'll watch people and they'll walk up and try to open the fix and like, and then they'll go there. And it's just like 50% of the time people will grab the wrong thing because they're not paying attention. The sign's kind of small. And I always think like, why don't they just
unlock it?
Is it the reason because they don't want hot air to come in and cold air to come in? So it limits it maybe?
I have no idea.
To keep the climate control of the building better? That's the only thing I can think of.
I hope there's a reason behind it. Or else it's very inconvenient.
It doesn't make sense because that doesn't happen in the States. If there are 4 doors to get into a mall, all 4 doors are unlocked.
Yes, yep.
And people would probably complain and be like, why is this door not working?
Yep.
But in Korea, they're just like, oh, okay, it's fixed. I guess I'll go to the other one.
Or another thing is they're swinging doors, but it says push.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
that's
why?
so funny.
It's a swinging door.
So funny.
Right?
A lot of times it'll say push or pull. And just to be contrarian, I will do the exact opposite. Just because I'm like, but then what's really funny is that when it says push or pull and then you can't pull it because it actually won't go that way. And then I'm really shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you really do have to push it instead of pull it. But most of the time I'll just like,
you can do whatever.
And my wife like, you're supposed to pull it. Like, it's easier to just push it, babe. What? Why is that? Why do they try to tell you if they allow you to push or pull and then they still, I mean, if the door allows you to push or pull and then they still put a sign? I don't know. So funny.
I don't get it. Does not exist in the States.
Yeah. If the door, use the door to what it has been created for. That's so funny.
Is there anything you notice in public spaces that are different?
I think it's a common thing that most of us dealt with, and we've probably talked about it in the past, but it still happens to this day. But I noticed that it's less than when I first came to Korea in 96.
Okay.
The social norm where you're just walking in big crowds and older people will just maul you over. Oh, they'll just mow you over.
Yeah.
As if you are not even in their space.
Yeah.
They'll just walk straight. And if you don't get out of the way, they'll just walk right into you.
Yeah.
And push you out of the way. And I just remember being literally shocked because the perpetrators were always older people.
The perpetrators?
Yeah. And I was like, at first I was so taken aback, but then I realized that this is just how they are. And the funniest thing is, after my month in Korea, I got so used to it. So I was on the plane from Korea going back to the States.
Yeah.
So I must have been standing in line to go to the restroom or something. And this ajashi guy, because I'm in my 20s at the time, this ajashi just comes up and just pushes me over, like to the side.
Oh my gosh.
And I literally was going to tell him, do you know that we're not on Korean soil anymore?
Oh my god.
We're going to America. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
We're going to America. And in America, you're going to get beaten down, son.
That's very true.
But
very
I didn't
true.
say that.
I mean, it still happens because like
But
I'm
not
waiting.
as much, right?
No, a lot on the buses. Like I'm waiting in line for the bus and a grandma will push me so that she can get on. And I'm like, the bus isn't going anywhere. I don't know why you're pushing me. Or like, I'm just minding my own business and they'll shove my backpack so that they can go to the back to sit down.
Oh.
And yeah.
Okay. Like on the subway, it does happen, but I think it happens more because it's a necessity. So if you're like in the middle of where you're holding on to the handles in front of people and then your next stop is there, but it's so crowded that you literally have to chamchimanyo and you have to push people through.
Yeah.
Then that's like a customary, like everyone realizes that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't think of too many examples where I've been just pushed arbitrarily out of the way.
Oh.
Other than those circumstances these days.
I see.
I think in the Shijang, in my local Shijang, when I'm in the market and I'm waiting for, I'm like waiting in line to pay. Sometimes like old grandmas will push me aside. And just literally last week I was waiting in line and I had my stuff and one of the grandmas just walks right by me, sees that I'm waiting in line and just puts her stuff in front of me on the counter. And then the lady who's at the counter doesn't say anything.
Oh.
But that's like a social norm. Like the older people just do that. They don't care. They don't care. They're like, I'm older than you. I have the privilege to go first.
Yeah.
But I just brush it across.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like they're from a generation where there was scarcity. Right. If you weren't first, you weren't going to get what you wanted.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way.
Post Korean War, like.
True. Yeah. We were a war-torn third world country.
Yeah. And like, even if you had ration coupons, if you run out, you don't get it. And that's why they were so like.
I didn't even think about it in that context.
So I think up to a certain like
age
group, like Korea advanced too fast for them and they can't catch up. Like they don't think the bus is going to stop for them. They like actually think the bus is going to leave if they don't get in on time.
Okay.
That's how I've like made my peace with it.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of it that way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you definitely can't hate on them because it's just, that's what life was like for them.
But it is shocking. Sometimes you're just like minding your own business and then someone shoves you and you're just like, oh my gosh, like where did that come from?
I can't even think of oh my gosh. I'm thinking of one thing. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Eureka moment. What happened?
So we were at this vegan cafe over by the Donkey Donkasu that we took you to. There was a table with two chairs and it was kind of crowded in the cafe. So I forgot what the context was, but we had selected that table for us. And then this guy and his girlfriend, who are obviously younger than us, basically took the table before us. But in the context, it was like obviously our table.
Oh, I see.
So I don't know what happened, but I found out after the fact that they took our table and George was like, oh my gosh, they took my table. Like in a rude way. I forgot the context, but it was obvious that they like were like fighting for it and they took it beyond, they knew that they took it from her.
Oh, I see.
I was livid.
Oh, this is the Hulk, Adam.
Yeah. I was like, this is audacious.
Yeah.
Even for Koreans. And I don't know, I was dressed like this. And I probably didn't look like I was old.
Yeah.
So he's like a 25-year-old punk. Punk. That's like the old man saying. 25-year-old bad boy.
Youngin.
Yeah. And I wanted, like, every fiber of me just wanted to go and just like knock him out. But my wife's like, don't do anything. I'm like, no. So I wrote on Papago. I wrote in English and I translated in Papago. And I'm like, you need to understand that you're lucky that I'm a gracious person because we could. I said it all in Papago and I sent it to him.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him. And his girlfriend was watching and he read the thing. He's like,
okay. So he owned up to it.
Yeah, but I was like, I had a very stern face and I'm like, I don't speak Korean, but just letting you know, this better never happen again. You better never do this to another person. I guess to him, he's like, first come, first serve, but whatever situation. But I know that he knew that he was wrong and I knew he was wrong. I just forgot the context. But I was so upset. And I guess he thought that this is okay to do.
Wow.
Anyways, but yeah.
How did we get here?
How about some other things? So we talked about holding doors.
Yes.
Anything else you can think of?
I know a lot of people say elevators in Korea are really quiet. Like nobody talks on elevators. I didn't notice it until I stayed at a hotel with my friend who was visiting. As soon as we got on the elevator, all the foreigners would like be like talking and like chatting. Okay. All the Koreans are silent, looking straight forward. But like the foreigners are like turning around and like doing all these things and like just like, you know, occupying space. But all the Koreans were like still hands folded over each other, looking straight forward. They get off. And I was like, they probably think they're heathens. Like,
when we first came to Korea, we stayed in an office hotel and our floor was on the 9th floor. So I remember acknowledging people when we were on the elevator at the same time. And they barely responded to me.
Oh, like you said, like, hi.
I'm like, oh, I say, oh. Or like, make it like, you know, like you can, at least you acknowledge that person exists and in the same space with you.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it was happening everywhere at malls. And then I'm like, oh, okay. They just don't want to acknowledge each other. And then my wife came to the conclusion that if you acknowledge your neighbor in some fashion or form, especially like in an office cell, and you strike up conversation, all of a sudden it then becomes a burden. Like you have to, once you acknowledge them, you have to always acknowledge them. And then you have to always be nice to them. You have to always like do something. And Koreans don't want that burden. So they would rather just
be strangers.
I
see.
Because then there's the burden of having to be a good neighbor. I learned that, okay, that's why.
I see.
Because in the States, if you get on an elevator and you don't acknowledge by eye contact with a little smile,
you're rude.
Like that's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with that person?
Yeah. Or you like even like strike up.
Oh yeah, like
entire conversations.
It's like, it's a nice day today.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like where are you headed? Like yeah. Just casual.
But it's really awkward in the States to do that. To just not acknowledge that the person exists on the elevator.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
Because then you start feeling uncomfortable. Like, is this person like a psycho or something? But in Korea, yeah, that's true.
In Korea, you're not supposed to talk in elevators. It's got to be dead silent. Yeah. Anything else you noticed?
Not really. But what about you?
I guess the one other thing I can think of is if you are on an escalator, the right side is reserved for people who are standing and the left is for people who want to pass. Okay. Like no matter how narrow the escalator is, people kind of form two lines. Is that a Korean thing? I think it is. Is it not?
I'm trying to, because I haven't been in the States on escalators for a hot minute. But is that normative? I think in the States, people don't generally walk up escalators. They just, once they get on the escalator, they stand. But Korea, because there's a lot of escalators in the subways, people who are in a rush or running late, they want to be able to climb the escalator. Yeah. And so I guess it's etiquette to, if you're not going to walk, to stay on the right side. But you'll always get like the elderly grandma or grandpa who will not pay attention. And then everyone's just like,
I know. Silently fuming.
Because Koreans, like, they don't want to be rude and tell an old person, get out of my way. Yeah. So we're all just like, But it's cute that everyone stops though, and they don't do that. But if you're younger, they'll be like, "잠시만요." Yeah, you know. But if it's an older person, we're just like, okay.
And they just like let them go.
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, sometimes the escalator is only like maybe like a floor high, but the line goes all the way back to the first car. And it's because people want to stand instead of like walk up.
Yeah.
Then I'll just take the stairs and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'll
waiting.
tell my babe, let's just go. Let's walk up it's only like
like
14
one flight.
stairs.
Yeah.
It's just like one floor, but everyone just standing long so that they can not even walk. And I'm like, you guys know that you're hurting yourself, right? By not climbing stairs. Because when you get old, you're going to fall and break your hip. Anyway.
Oh, gosh.
That's funny.
What are some things you notice in social settings? Differences.
Yeah, I think this is going to be more your cup of tea on understanding social references or social settings in Korea versus America. I can kind of comment on things I've observed, but I think in Korea, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems a little bit more, there's a standard way of behavior when you go out to eat with friends versus in America.
Oh, can you expand on what you mean?
Like when you're out to eat in America, there isn't any general rule of thumb in terms of what's social etiquette in America. Because when I went to Korea, there definitely I learned that there's different things that you have to be mindful of.
Like?
I never drank in America really, but in Korea, I would notice at tables, like the young people doing this. Turning
like
away,
drinking culture.
like drinking culture.
Yeah. So you have to turn your face away.
I don't even know exact rule of it.
Oh, okay. So you got to turn your face away from someone who's in a higher status than you.
Okay.
So if two
they're
of us,
young or Nuna
or like someone higher ranked at the workplace.
Okay.
Like I have to turn my head away from you so that you're not seeing me drink.
Okay. When I would go to my grandparents' house, we would wait for grandpa to eat first.
Yeah. That's very old school.
Yeah. The moment that he picks up his spoon to eat, I'm like, okay, we all can eat now.
Did Hyojin have to like tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's like, be mindful of this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because generally, like, I think for myself, I am naturally, I don't want to be the first one to eat.
Oh.
It's just in my own culture. But I didn't realize that patriarchal culture in Korea, like, if the father hasn't eaten, no one else is going to be eaten.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Very true. I mean, and then going back to the drinking rules, I don't really drink either. So this is all based on things I've like observed. But when you like, 짠해? What's 짠?
Oh,
cheers.
when you're cheers.
Yeah. 짠. And then you like knock your glasses together. If I'm in a lower rank than you, my cup has to be lower than yours.
Oh, so if we're doing this, you have to have your hand lower.
Mine has to be lower than yours.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I'm like,
I did not know this.
I'm lower in rank than you.
Oh, interesting.
That, and like you said in last week's episode, you have to use two hands to pour if you're like serving someone higher than you, or even if you like receive, you also have to do two hands. And nowadays, because a lot of people abuse like this kind of hierarchical thing, you can't force anyone to drink anymore in like an office setting.
Well, that's a good thing though, right?
Yeah, it's good. But like even a couple years ago, the social rule was if someone higher than you gives you a drink, you have to drink it.
Okay, go.
You can't not drink it. It's rude if you refuse.
That's why most Koreans were alcoholics in the old days.
Yeah, and a lot of that has disappeared. But
great,
I have heard that if your office is a little older,
you kind of have to conform.
That's still the culture.
If you want to climb the ladder of success in that company, you probably, even though it's not a rule, you almost have to conform if you want to move.
It's like an unspoken social rule that still exists.
Because they'll ostracize you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
though legally they can't make you.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful I never had to work for a Korean company.
Same.
Well, you did work for a Korean company, didn't you?
I mean, but for 2 months, so I don't think it counts.
People were like, why do you like Korea? Like, because they're probably all thinking like, I have to work through the Korean culture and the Korean workplace, and I feel blessed and little bit guilty because I don't have to experience that.
But it is changing. Like, I've heard of a lot of friends who are like, I don't drink, and then they respect it and they don't ask them to do things.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know about the table manners? About setting tables?
No, okay. I don't hear. You kind of alluded to it before we press record, but I've never heard this before.
Oh, it's because Adam's usually the oldest, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
My wife is usually when I go out to eat with a bunch of groups of people, I'm always at least older than my wife. So I've never had to think about this.
Yeah. So in the States, when you go to a restaurant, the cutlery is already there, right? It's already sitting at your table, or your waiter gives it to you.
Yeah.
But in Korea, there's like a sliding drawer under the table, and you have to take out your own utensils. And usually the youngest person is supposed to set the table without anyone like telling them to. And if you don't know, then you're 눈치 없어. Like, you have no manners, sense. Like, you're not quick. Also, like, pouring water too. That's like supposed to be something the youngest person does. And like, I mean, I haven't gone on that many dates, but the few dates I've gone on with Korean men,
they expected from you?
No, they were making such a big fuss of like setting the table for me.
Oh.
And like showing that they were well trained and they're very mannerly.
Even though they might be older than you?
They were all older than me, but they're like, oh, let me do it. And then they like set the table, set the water.
Just to be chivalrous?
Yes, I think so.
Oh.
Or like their previous girlfriends.
But then after they get married to you, they're like, make the table for me.
I hope you better not.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
yeah.
I've never heard that. Now I wonder how many times I actually broke that rule and people were like muttering under their breath.
This foreigner.
Like, disrespectful little. That's so funny. I've actually never heard of that as an etiquette.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh man, I kind of feel bad now.
No, I don't think you.
Okay. Hopefully,
I'm sure there was always someone younger.
Yeah. So Hannah's saying this because I'm an old man.
No.
Okay. One of the things that Hannah wrote down was physical. So I'll mention something that I found very interesting. So I grew up in an American culture in the Midwest, having a bunch of guy friends. The only time there'd be physical contact is if we were hurting each other in sports.
Like, don't you high five each other?
I don't know if we did high five back in the day.
Or you do like
we didn't do fist pumps back in the day. I don't know even what we did.
Don't you bump your shoulders?
Yeah, that was after my time.
Oh, okay.
That was all like in my later 20s and 30s. But I don't know what we did. But the only time we'd ever physically touch is if we'd play games where we would have to hit each other. So if like if you make a circle below your waist like this on your leg, and then they look down accidentally and they get to hit you, then if they look down, then I get to hit them or they get to hit me, and we would like just hurt each other often. And we'd find it comical, but that's the only time we physically touched each other.
But you know what's so sad? Boys have not evolved. Like, my students would do the same thing in class, and they would like walk across the room to punch the other kid. And I'm just like, you really think that's appropriate in front of a teacher?
But I think for American guys, doing that is almost like a way of showing acceptance and bonding. It's weird. It's a very weird ritual that we have of bond where we hurt each other to show that we like each other. Yeah.
That's so toxic.
Yeah. However, I went to my first Korean church at the age of 20. And it really, really, really made me uncomfortable the first time I started seeing this. I had no idea, zero idea how affectionate guys are with guys.
Yeah.
We hurt each other in American culture, and that's our affection. We'd be chilling at someone's house, and another guy would be like literally like draped over the other guy. You know, like
at
just
the
like
Korean church.
Yeah. They would be like draped, like hanging out, and like they would be leaning in on each other. They would be putting their hands or arms around each other, and I was just like, "What are you guys doing? Like, separate! You're stumbling me. Like this is like
you're stumbling me.
This is like inappropriate, guys.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? This is like." not normal. But I realized that Korean guys are really affectionate with each other.
I think Korean people, because girls are like that too. They like link arms all the time when they're walking. They hold hands.
Like, 언니, and then they'll put their arm around you.
Yeah, not even a 언니, just like even the same age. You're always linking arms. You're always like some kids like to what do you call this?
Oh, that's a very intimate thing.
Is there a name for this in English?
There probably is.
Like in Korean, it's 손깍지.
Oh.
So it's not just holding hands. It's like linking every single finger.
Yeah.
But girls will do that. They'll go to the bathroom together. Like,
well, I think in America, girls will go to the bathroom together.
But like they're in the same stall.
Wait, what?
Like Korean girls will go into the same stall.
Wait.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But in America, like some girls are like fixing their makeup. And like people go.
I've never heard this.
No, yeah.
Girls go to the same stall.
Yeah, some Korean girls. Especially if you're like in school.
That's weird.
I know. It's like a different sense of personal space.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. This is the first time I've ever heard this.
Yeah. Or like they'll feed each other food. Like someone has something in their hand. So they're like, oh, do you want to try this? And they like feed them. That was really shocking to me too. I was like, what are you guys doing?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the biggest like shocker for me, I moved to Korea almost 7 years ago. And my wife and I were in public and we were just walking around and we saw the soldiers in their fatigues because the Korean soldiers who are on leave when they're traveling, I guess a lot of them do wear their fatigues.
Their uniform. Yeah.
And I kind of did a double take. I was like, wait, what am I looking at? And there was like 4 Korean soldiers and both sets of the two were holding hands like they were dating, but it was just affection. Wow.
That's fascinating.
And I remember I looked at my wife. I'm like, babe, look what they're doing. She's like, I'm like, I know. I knew Korean guys are affectionate.
Yeah.
But the Korean American guy's affectionate was nowhere near the Korean guy's affection. I was like, oh my goodness.
And that's really fascinating because in America's like the US is really big, but I think Korea in general is more homophobic than certain areas of the States.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because that's true.
It's not legal.
I heard
gay marriage is not legal.
I heard like at hotels in Korea, if you're 2 guys, you can't rent a hotel.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So there are certain hotels that are not like the American owned hotels like the Hyatt, but like the lower end hotels like Love Hotels. Oh. And Love Hotels have a connotation of like rent by the hour.
Yeah.
But some hotels are, I guess, Love Hotels, but they serve as cheaper hotels to stay at for the night. But these Love Hotels, at least 6-7 years ago, we learned that if 2 guys, even though they might be brothers or cousins and they're just trying to find a cheap place to stay, the owner of the said hotel will not let them rent it.
Oh, wow.
But if it's 2 girls, they will.
That's so.
But so I guess that is more homophobic than the States because they don't care if you're 2 guys. We don't even blink an eye.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then Korean men are more affectionate. So I'm just like,
it's so funny.
That's so interesting.
But they're so affectionate. Even like the other day, literally a week and a half ago, I walked by one of the plethora, ubiquitous picture places. Like, you know, the brick and mortar places that you can take pictures.
Insane Decor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I walked by and I saw a bunch of cute Korean soldiers all like putting on like the little cute hats and like laughing like little junior high school girls. Oh. And it actually warmed my heart.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are so cute.
It's very endearing.
But you would never, ever see that with States. American soldiers. They'd be like, no. But it's so endearing and cute.
Yeah. I mean, but American soldiers, you voluntarily go in and
True.
it attracts a certain type of like
that's
hyper
true.
masculinity, right? But in
That's a
Korea,
good
everyone's
point.
drafted. So I wonder, like, you know how like Andy was like, I didn't ever think to be in shape for the army. Whereas like in America, you would never think that. You're training really hard. I wonder if it's like a little different.
Okay. Yeah.
But they are definitely more touchy.
Yeah.
Way more touchy.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah.
But
it's
sometimes it is really endearing. Like it basically you're like family. Yeah. You're so close.
Biblically, like during the Last Supper, you know how they paint the men draped over each other?
Yeah.
It customarily, and they were also more physically affectionate with each other. And even when you read like Jonathan and David's friendship, is very close. Loving and endearing.
Yeah.
So I feel like the toxicity of American manly culture kind of got too extreme.
Yeah. Very fascinating. And then on the other end of this, like even though people are so affectionate, you don't do any small talk with people you don't know on the street because they could be a cult member.
Oh, that's a really good social norm to talk about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we first came to Korea, we did some YouTube researching on what should we be aware of? And that's like one of the big things they always tell tourists is if a Korean walks up to you and is super nice,
they're a cult.
They're likely in a cult.
And you know, Adam, so I almost got scouted by a cult.
Really?
And they are so well trained.
Yeah.
Like it's a little scary. Like they pair a girl and a guy together and they start like walking around the mall. I was at Starfield, Coex Starfield, which is a pretty public area.
Are they allowed to do that? If they got caught, would they get in trouble?
I bet so. Because they
it's
don't
like
have
soliciting almost.
They don't have a good reputation post-COVID because they were one of the super spreaders of COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like there's a
I did not know
very
this.
bad view of like cults and churches in general, actually.
That was true. Some of the really conservative churches defied the COVID law.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. But one of them was a cult.
Okay.
Which is why like the public image of cults are like extra bad now. But they like smile and they sit next to you and they're like, oh, like, are you waiting for a friend? And I was like, oh, what nice Koreans.
Were they speaking English well?
No, it was in Korean. It was in Korean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, they're like so nice.
So not
for
like
Koreans
Korean social norm.
At Coex. Interesting. And I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for a friend. Like, what are you guys up to? And then they like smile at each other. And then I was like, oh, something's off. Like, they're not dating, but then if they're not dating, why are they like hanging out together?
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you have time to talk? And I was like, no.
That's scary.
I was like, no, I'm ready to leave.
You would think they would try to find a better strategy. But like
leading up to that, they seem so nice. Oh. And so they look so normal. Like I think that was the most shocking part. Oh. Because when I think
of expect a certain look.
Yeah. When I think of cults in like America, I think of people who are a little like eccentric and they like stand out, but these people look so normal, so approachable, so nice. But that is definitely something you gotta watch out for in Korea.
You know what's strange though? I've been here for this long. I've never, not once, had anyone come up to try to occultish me.
Really?
I'm almost offended.
Wait, no, that's good.
Do I not look like a person that would be open to talking to people?
No, you probably look so confident that they don't want to like interrupt.
But I thought they also try to target foreigners, don't they? Sometimes, no.
But I guess it depends on the occult. You walk around like you're a local.
Yeah, but I've never had anyone come in.
Do you want them to?
Yeah, at this point, I want someone to be nice. You want this experience? Yeah, I want to be able to give a first-person assessment of what happened to me.
You're too funny.
But no one does.
Well, I get so many.
Really?
And then I act like I don't speak Korean.
Because you can then talk in English to them.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and then they let me go.
Oh, the only thing I could say that's even semi-close to it is at Subways, people will wear their blue shirts and then they'll hand out stickers about Save the Whales type of thing. You know, you've seen that, right?
No.
They all wear like either yellow shirts or blue shirts, and they'll be like, "Oh, save the kids," or "Save the whales," or some type of like. You haven't seen this?
No. Charity work?
Yeah, but it's usually a cute guy and a cute girl in their young 20s. It's not an occult, I don't believe, but they're just trying to solicit money, donations.
Are they actually saving whales, or we don't know?
I have no idea. But my wife and I will walk, and then she'll start speaking English loudly to me. And then they will shy away from us because they don't speak Korean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, babe, why are you talking to me in English so loud? She's like, because they won't bother us. I'm like, oh. That's the only thing that's even semi-close to what I've experienced.
I see.
I think I might have mentioned this in an older podcast. Because I am more Americanized and I like to strike up conversations with strangers. Mm-hmm. Like when I see a foreigner, like, oh, wherever are you from? Like, oh, that's cool, Arizona. Like, and then if we get into a topic about Christianity, I'd be like, oh, you should come to our church. And then I'm like, but I also realize that for a foreigner, they might think, oh,
you're a cult?
He's in a cult. Like, he wants to invite me to their church. Get away from me, you know? So I feel like I can't be the type of person that I want to be because it could come across occultish.
Yeah.
So over at our church, we're near Namsan Tower, and that area, there tends to be, I don't know if you've ever been in that area on Saturdays, but there's a lot of foreigners that will walk by.
Namsan.
I've been wanting to tell our pastor, like, we should set up a table that says Art Church and just like let people know, hey, like pass out bottled water.
If you're looking for English church.
I keep on wondering, like, will that go across as a, like,
will that be suspicious?
Be a red flag for some people who've done their research and wonder, like, why are they doing this?
Maybe.
Bad actors that give good intentions a bad name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I also noticed some differences, gift giving, but also just like ideas of family and like inviting people over. But in Korea, like you would almost never invite someone over for Chuseok or Seollal, like the New Year. But in America, like you could invite anyone over for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, right? Like that's like a common thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but in Korea, it's like a no-no.
Yeah, it's only family members.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've never thought of that.
Not even like someone you're seriously dating. Like they're not allowed to come unless you're like married.
Yeah. In the States, Thanksgiving or Christmas or even like certain holidays, a lot of gregarious families in America will be like, oh, bring all your friends over. Like, oh, let's have some friends here. We're having a big Thanksgiving potluck or this and that. And that's just a total normal thing. But I never thought about the fact that all these years that I've been in Korea, every Chuseok, every big family thing has only been us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I couldn't be like, hey, I've got a couple people at church who don't have families. Let's invite them for Chuseok. They'd be like, what are they doing here?
That's like not heard of.
Oh, that's true. That's very interesting.
So I know like some of my MK friends, they're like, Korea is actually more lonelier than the States. Even though I don't have family in either places, because in Korea, like if you're not family, you're not invited.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I never thought about that.
But then maybe it ties into the whole idea of like allowance money, 용돈, because during those big holidays, the elders give you allowance. And it'd be kind of awkward if you have like 3 friends over and like, are they going to give you allowance money or not? I don't know.
Oh, speaking of this, so every New Year's, the Lunar New Year's, where Korea, you bow before your parents, you do the customary thing, and then you get up, and then they say a blessing to you, and then they'll give you money. So my wife's youngest aunt is only 3 years difference than me.
Wait, that's so funny.
Yeah. But every time we go to the family outings, I sit at the children's table, and she gets to sit with the adults. She's literally 3 years older than me. And at the bowing, still for some reason, I still get money. I get money.
But you're married.
I know, but the family still, for some reason, they still give Hyojin and I money all the time. And I feel like I'll never grow up in their eyes.
Oh, well, that's kind of nice though. You get money. And I just want to like tell our listeners who are not Korean, like Koreans are really generous when it comes to allowance money. Because if you think about it, the average Korean is making like maybe half of what an American household is making.
True that.
Yeah, if you like do the conversion of like standard of living and everything. But they give like
the equivalent of like
$100, like $500. Like I graduated high school, they gave me $500. I don't think that's not a common thing in American households, I think.
In graduations, at least where I'm from the Midwest, back in the old days, if you would have a graduation and you would invite people to come to your house, they would give you money, but it wouldn't be $100.
Or $500.
Yeah,
like,
or $500.
It'd be like $25, $50.
Yeah, regarding the currency ratio, they definitely give a lot more.
Yeah.
That's
and like
true.
gift giving too. Gone are the days where you bring toilet paper for housewarming. That's not a thing anymore.
True.
It's more like luxury gift items that are somewhere in like the $40s to $60 price range, which is pretty high considering that people are making way less.
Okay.
Yeah. That was like shocking to me.
Yeah, I guess it's just their way of showing that they love you, that they want to give you something that maybe you wouldn't otherwise spoil yourself with.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have something like that you would normally just get the cheapest thing, but they want to give you something nice. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, social norms in Korea are definitely different than the US. I feel like I've been gone from the US for so long, I don't even know the social norms of the US anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now this was really fun to chat about social norms, and let us know if you guys have any additional thoughts. Maybe you thought of something that we didn't think of, but hopefully this gave you a little bit more insight into Korean and American social norms. Maybe we're a little out of touch, so if you got any new updated stuff, do keep us updated on that.
Or any Australians out there, tell us what you think.
Oh yeah, true. Australian Koreans. We've got a decent amount of Australian Koreans in our little community.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you all, we'll see you the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and like and subscribe. All right. Peace.
Bye.